coming up in this week's episode. It is sad. It's horrible. The person you thought was the one on your team is not. He's been on his own team. Welcome to The Liberation Effect with me, your host, Helen Villas. Hello everyone and welcome back to The Liberation Effect. Today I'm joined by Charlie, and Charlie got in touch to talk about her experiences growing up and to just get some validation to be heard, having never spoken to anyone about it before in a professional capacity. And so, Charlie, I'm actually just going to hand that to you straight away and say, is that a good enough summary of what you're here for, what brought you here, and what is it you would like to get from our time together today?
Yep, absolutely. So, like you say, I've never spoken to anyone before. So I really just want to speak to somebody to feel understood and to be able to move on in that knowing, I guess, and knowing that I've spoken to somebody and they've, validated my emotions, validated my experiences throughout my life. Yeah, so that is, I can imagine it's really going to help. Yeah, because this is pretty huge for me. Yeah, even that in itself, I will feel, I think, really proud of myself to kind of get to this, to get to this point. Definitely.
To even just talk about it at all with anybody.
Yeah, even just to book that appointment, with you is huge for me. Yeah, because I suffer so badly with like my nerves. The amount of times I wanted to cancel was unreal. So this is,
What was it that was telling you to cancel?
Oh, I think just the fear of not being believed.
Okay.
And you thinking that I'm some sort of fraud. Yeah, I think so.
Why would I think you were a fraud? What would make me think that?
I think it's because you can't help but, compare yourself to others. And that's why, your work has been really important to me because, it's really eye-opening. You can look at, families that have, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and it's all very complicated. And I just have so different feelings all the time. Sometimes I'm really very emotional and very down and really feeling it. And some days I'm like, I can do this, it's fine. I've got this, And it is amazing how quickly it can just, fall apart. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So why don't you give me a bit of context and things that you maybe question particularly, things that are like make you doubt yourself or your own self-validation? What sort of things might, a bit of history, I suppose.
Or do you mean like first-hand experiences or... Yeah, it's a difficult one to...
Yeah, it's a bit vague as a question, isn't it? Okay. All right, tell me about the dynamics in the family, the things that you identify within my work that you are looking to understand more and better.
Yeah, well, I massively related a lot to do with your work on, like toxic, dysfunctional family systems. And it probably wasn't until I got to my 30s where things started hitting home a bit more.
Right.
Because my mum and my dad, I've always known that, things aren't quite right. But I suppose it wasn't until later in my life where I realised how much that has affected me. And it started when I had children. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And
the
I
old
also,
catalyst.
yes, I know. Yeah. It was like a door opened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a lot of your work to do with ADHD as well. I mean, because I saw but it started with me thinking, well, looking into my daughter.
Okay.
And then when I started like looking into symptoms and stuff, I thought, oh, crikey, that's very relatable.
Mm,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me, you said about toxic family systems and dynamics. Do you want to tell me a bit about your family system, what that looked like growing up, and what happened in that?
Yeah, so I'm an only child to what I would say are two parents that are very much emotionally immature. And the only way I can just describe it is that my upbringing, their efforts with it was very much bare minimum.
Okay.
And I realised that when I had children. And I thought,
Mm.
wow, how
Mm.
like how am I okay right now? Well, kind of
Mm.
not, but I spent a lot of time on my own because it was very much I think it's very much that generation as well, where it's like, you know, a child is seen but not heard, you know, go away, go to your bedroom, you know, I don't want to hear that kind of thing. And I spent a lot of time there just doing my own thing. And my mum and dad's relationship has always been that my mum, when I was little, she was probably the main parent, and I was very much what I thought at the time as a mummy's girl.
Right.
And my dad, she worked part-time, and my dad worked full-time, and every time he would finish work, he would just go straight to the pub. You know, you'd never see him. And then he'd come home, and then, you know, they'd have that typical argument. Oh, you know, where have you been? And, you know, you've missed your dinner and all of that kind of thing.
Right.
And then as I grew older, you could see even more, you know, how toxic it is. The way my mum treats my dad. Oh God, there's just so much. And as I got even older, you know, you could sort of see it for what it is a little bit more. You could understand that why my dad stayed away all the time, because my mum is like really hard to live with. And they were very much both drinkers as well. So that was important, both of them.
So they're both drinkers, and he was going to the pub after work, not getting in touch, and then she would be annoyed that he was not at home.
Yeah, and she would never really. I mean, as a child, I didn't know any different, but looking back, you know, my mum and dad, they never paid any interest in me. You know, they never took the time to play with me or just speak to me about anything, really, about trying to understand the world. You know, it was just very much, you go to school, you come home, and yeah, no support whatsoever.
So it sounds like you were quite invisible despite being the only child.
Yeah. I had cousins. I did have one particular cousin who's like 18 months younger than me. And as adults, we've spoken about it quite a bit. So, you know, we've been able to share experiences from our childhood, and she feels quite similar about her mother. And that's probably the closest I've got to a sibling. But obviously the dynamic is very different because our mothers are different, our parents were different, we lived in different households. But we spent time together, and our mums are sisters. And we constantly used to bond over like our mums and, you know, how they, you know, would annoy us or how they...
And how is it they would annoy you? What were the things they would do?
That they, you know, just didn't understand, and everything was about them. They're quite similar, I'd say, but I think that's probably why they clashed in the end. They don't speak now.
Okay.
They were both very similar in the sense I always remember speaking to my aunt, and once I started speaking, you could just see everything just switched off in her mind, you know, she's just looking into space. And you could tell a lot of the time, if she wanted to speak to me, it was for information. You know, it wasn't to actually get to know me or anything like that.
If you think about your mother's behaviour in particular, are there any specific examples of things that you didn't like, even into adulthood, that she would do? Because you said there with your cousin, you talk about how they'd make everything about themselves. Your aunt would just be information gathering. And what was it that your mother did that you maybe struggle with understanding whether or not it's toxic, perhaps?
A big issue that I've had is more of the neglect side. But my mum's behaviour, sorry, that's me again.
No need to apologise.
My mum's behaviour, I've been able to analyse it a lot more as an adult and then start to remember things as a child, because a lot of it as well is the way that she behaves around my children.
Right.
Which, yeah, is so old-fashioned, it's unbelievable. I can only describe her as like childish.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'll say, for example, like with my son recently, you know, he has like a typical 5-year-old behaviour, and he'll, you know, be quite boisterous, and my mum will just say things like, you know, oh, you horrible thing, and you know,
what?
you know, she'll just say things like, you know, you're naughty, and then there was this time where he was kind of sort of playing with his fists in a playful way, and then she would like do it back, and then she started telling everyone that he hit her when he didn't, or even if he did, it was through play, and she was, you know, like encouraging it, almost like trying to get him into trouble. And then she favors my daughter as well, so she like whisper in her ear and say, oh, you're my favorite, you know, and obviously everyone can hear, and she's really, I can really see that she's trying to like manipulate her, and it does work, because she's only 10. So, you know, she'll come away saying, oh, I love Nana, she's great. And I'm just like, right, okay. And then my little boy is like, oh, I hate Nana and she hates me, doesn't she? That's when just red flags just started coming out. And I thought, oh, this is just repeating, just nasty behaviours that she had. It's really difficult from when I was a child, because, you know, I was ignored a lot. So the toxic behaviour might not have necessarily been always at me, you know, like screaming and, you know, having a go at me or anything, because she always described me as an easy child. Oof, which is also a red flag in my mind.
Massive red flag.
Yeah. And it was things that she says now that you realise are just so bad. Like she describes, like she tends to pride herself on her parenting. Like she thinks that she's a fantastic parent. Like never have I ever said that to her, you know, and there's actually no evidence of that whatsoever. But, you know, she'll say things like, oh, when you were a baby, when you used to cry and you were already fed and you'd already slept, and I knew that you didn't need anything, so I would just put you in your pushchair and put you in the hallway and shut the door and wait until you've stopped, because, you know, you're just crying for no reason. And then now I'm just, oh, well, obviously there was a reason. So I think just things like that, stories like that, make me realise that, you know, I got shut out, and feelings were never going to be, you know, taken seriously. Yeah. There's other experiences as well. Like when I was at school,
Mm.
When I first went to primary school, it was my first day.
Mm.
I managed to leave the school and walk home on my own. And it's actually a really vivid memory still, even though I was only 5. It was probably one of my earliest memories, I'd
Right.
say. I remember standing in the playground and with my lunchbox and just thinking, what do I do? I'm so terrified of asking a person what to do. And I remember seeing the gate and just going. And I did. I walked home and I waited down the alleyway and realised nobody's there because my mum was at work. But luckily she turned up and she took me back to the school and they didn't even know I'd gone. Which
How
is
do you know that?
my mum. Yeah, what I was going to go on to that is the story
Okay.
that I was given when I was growing up to what actually the reality is. She used to always tell me, oh, I take you back and they didn't know you were gone. And I went to the head teacher and the head teacher said it's not their fault. They can't do anything about it. Which I was thinking at the time, well, I was thinking now, well, that's ridiculous. That wouldn't happen. But at the time, I just bought the story because
Sure.
I
Well,
didn't
why
have
would
any
you not?
reason not to.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
was always like a bit of a laugh when we were growing up.
That's interesting. So it was funny you ran away from school. I just want to clarify something. So you had left the school, she gone home, gone into the alleyway.
And I was
She was at
crying.
work and you were crying. She
Yeah.
was at work. She came back and found you and took you back to the school. And her version is that they didn't even know you were gone. But my question is, why would she have come back? Where that doesn't track. Because
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I'm at work, I couldn't just leave because, well, I can now because I'm self-employed. But I wouldn't be just leaving for no reason
Yeah.
if I'm employed by someone.
Well, I don't know if that was her time to come home because it was like lunchtime. And that's when I left because I remember having my lunch. I was walking away from the school dinner hall and God knows why I was walking on my own anyway. So there probably was some neglect from the school as well. But it was just interesting that my mum said that to me about the head teacher when I'm sure that wouldn't be true.
Can I just ask you another
Yeah.
question? Sorry about this. You've referred to generation and age, and
Yeah, I know.
and I'm intrigued to know just how old she is and how old you are, what generation we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's just because it seems like it's quite common. She's 68,
Right.
born in the 50s. I'm 38.
So she was 30 then when you were born.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and what year was that? Sorry, if you don't mind.
87. I was born in 87.
87. So you grew up during the 90s.
Yeah,
Now, I
parents
had
were like big drinkers,
go
big
on.
smokers, I think that was quite common back then, 90s. They'd go to the pub and then the kids would just have to, figure out life while they were getting drunk.
Interesting that you say common
Maybe that's
because
just what I'm used to then.
I just wonder if that is your normal and because of their choices, everyone around them was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because my memory of the 90s and babies,
Yeah.
I had a sibling that was born in mid-90s, to be fair, but there was a lot more awareness around kind of attachment and not neglecting your children and what neglect looks like and all those things.
Yeah.
And I think when the Dunblane shooting happened. Do you know what I'm talking about with Dunblane?
Remind me.
There was... I'm going to double check what year it was, because Andy Murray's school is actually what it was. There was a mass shooting. It was awful, awful, awful time in 1996. And then it became, that was when they started stopping people into the school, letting people in. That's when all doors and security went up massively, because this man had gone in and I mean, it was just horrific. So maybe a little bit before where you would have started, a bit after where you would have started school. But it would have been, security would have been still a thing, right? So for you to get out,
I know,
it's quite odd.
Terrifies me because of my children. I've got a 5-year-old, and I think I would be absolutely furious. And I think I could only think I'd be letting the newspapers know. I'd be letting the police know.
Right.
If the story was that the head teacher didn't take accountability.
Right.
But that sounds a bit fishy.
But also, just flip it from this side, Charlie. Your child has escaped, for want of a better word, from school.
Yeah.
You take them back, and the headmaster or head teacher goes, "Oh, well, that's not our fault. Tough luck." But you continue to leave your child there. That is the big part of it. It's not all the bit of you going. I mean, that is obviously a significant part, but the very fact that she knew you were in an environment that you could, at 5 years old, leave and get all the way home, and they didn't even realise, and then said it's not their fault and weren't putting anything in place to prevent it happening again, and yet she still left you there.
Yeah.
That is the part.
Well, she told me that then from then on, I was kept in confinement. I wasn't allowed out in my lunch breaks anymore. So I ended up being punished for it in the end.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember much.
The
only feeling I remember is just standing there with my lunchbox and being frozen. And I did not want to ask somebody what I had to do. I just did not know what to do. Yeah. Speaking to people was a massive issue. So my first thought was, there's a gate, I'm going. Yeah. That's one of my earliest memories. And I think that I'm telling that story because I think it, the theme carries on throughout my life, because, I've always been socially anxious.
Okay.
As a child, it was terrible. Now I do deal with it, but I'm quite good at turning on when I need to socialise, if that makes sense.
That's also known as masking.
Yeah. That I know when I'm doing it as well, and I can't help it. But just be yourself. I know that I should do that. But
do you know who yourself is?
It's so hard. No.
There it is.
That's why, isn't it? Things are sort of crashing down in my brain a little bit at the age that I am, I think, because, it's just lots of things going on in my mind.
When you think about your experience with your mother, I really actually want to go back to her behaviour around your children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because that is horrendously toxic.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious to just understand what the relationship with them looks like now, how often they're being exposed, whether you call her out, what your fear might be around calling her out, all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've got to the point now where I'm limiting the visits, and the only reason why I visit anyway is because I want to see my dad.
Right.
It sounds horrible, but it's nothing to do with my mum. I don't like her. I do. There must be some love there. I don't know. I guess because as a child, I loved my mum. But as I'm growing up, she really, she angers me, and yeah, that really is horrible, and I feel so guilty for exposing my children to her.
When you say she angers you, what is it that she does that angers you?
It's just the way she thinks that she can, get away with this. The way she acts around my children. There are better times and worse times, but when there has been some bad times, and I have said to her, look, no, you were in the wrong there. That was your fault. It's very rare for me to do that because I know what I get normally. As a child, I don't really remember doing it because that's a bit sort of hazy. But as a teenager, I remember there were some instances, I guess, where I learned that I couldn't speak to her. There'd be times where, I'd kick off about something, and usually it just ended up in either her crying. She mainly cried when she was drunk, but that was a lot of the time, to be fair. Or if she wasn't drunk, it would be the silent treatment. So she wouldn't speak to me for a good couple of weeks, and she'd make sure that, she didn't do anything to help me out, like she wouldn't do my washing or she wouldn't cook me dinner or anything like that. And
what? So as a teen, this is, sorry.
Oh, well, that's another thing. My whole life, it wasn't until I was a teenager that I had a hot meal.
I'm sorry,
well.
what?
When I was a teenager, well,
you'd never had a hot meal?
There were occasions where I'd been offered it, but mainly in other family homes. That at the time I felt was normal. I was like, oh, this is a family and they're having dinner. And that was another thing that created a massive amount of anxiety for me with food. A lot of the time people would say, oh, it's because I've got an issue with the food, but I know now it was anxiety driven. It was the people watching me try things, because I was going into like a friend's home and they'd give me a hot dinner. So it was like a roast dinner, which is quite a common thing to have. And I wouldn't even know what it was. I remember thinking like a Yorkshire pudding was a potato, and I didn't know how to use knife and fork. So, it was people watching me and people realizing that I didn't know.
So,
like that was
hang on.
my fear there was like, oh, what if they can see that I've never tried it?
So at what age did you learn to use a knife and fork?
Oh, God. Well, I can't really use them properly now, but I use them the wrong way around, but that's quite common anyway. But no, well into my teens, I remember I didn't try a chip until I was 19. So it was late on, and I would live on stuff like, junk food, like microwave burgers or, stuff that you can do yourself. But my mum, I see that in her now, because when she figures out that somebody likes something, she will kind of just stick with that. Oh,
right.
My daughter, for example, oh, she likes this particular food, so I will keep giving it her. She obsesses over it. And when I was growing up, it was Marmite sandwiches. So that was the only thing I ate for years, and it was a joke within the family.
So the first thing I will say, it's disgraceful that you did not know how to use a knife and fork. It's disgraceful that you were never given a hot meal until a teenage year, you know.
Yeah.
I know that there's going to be people listening going, well, what if she's autistic, or what if she's got ARFID, or what if there's a sensory thing going on? That's fine. That is true. There could be that as a child, you know, struggles with around food or texture or taste and stuff. But as a parent of that child, you offer options constantly, so the child is at least getting to see if there's something else.
Yes.
Right, that they like.
Exactly. I know,
you know,
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, you don't just give them Marmite sandwiches, because apart from anything else, what about the nutrients that they need? That you are going to end up in a massive deficit over various nutrients. Now, I know Marmite's got lots of weird and wonderful things in it, but it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be a substitute for veggies and fruit and protein and carbs and things like that. So that in its, just that on its own is just such neglect.
That's
such a massive scale.
What my mum, you know, she is very much, you know, oh, if I didn't like something, well, she'll never make it ever again, which we know children do that all of the time. I know with my own kids, it's a nightmare, isn't it, with the eating? And they're always going through ups and downs all the time. And sometimes they might say they don't like it, but they do. And yeah, so she would just never revisit that ever again. That was it. You know, I'll stick with what she likes. Yeah.
And why do you think she might have done that?
I don't know. On her side of things, I guess just to keep it consistent.
Or imagine if all you had to do every single day as a parent was only make Marmite sandwiches for dinner.
I know, amazing. Well, I wouldn't have it for dinner. I'd have it for lunch, and then I just wouldn't have dinner.
So you didn't get fed in the evening?
So, well, my cousin, I just thought that was normal, obviously. But when we started talking about it, she used to kind of make a joke that, oh, let's have I won't say my mum's nickname, but she'll say her nickname. She'll say, oh, I'll just say, for example, it's my auntie's tea.
Right.
And it'll be like, oh, that's her tea, which would consist of chocolate biscuits. Right. So sometimes I know her mum would say, oh, you're going to have that tea today, like a lazy tea. And it would literally just be chuck a box of biscuits. I remember I used to be in my bedroom and I could have a whole lunchbox full of biscuits, and she would have no, you know, limit on that whatsoever. Yeah.
So wait, so she would send. I'm sorry, I've missed a chapter. So you
it
and
sounds
your cousin,
unbelievable, doesn't it?
it's just you and your cousin would. Who was giving you the chocolate biscuits?
If my cousin stayed the night as well, that is what we would get. So she knew that was what dinner consisted of. Yeah, just snacks and stuff. And then we'd get up in the middle of the night and go downstairs and just eat more snacks. And there would always be chocolate and crisps, you know, just junky stuff. And that's what I'd eat, because my mum knew I ate it. So she was like, well, at least I'm feeding her. That's probably, that would be her attitude, you know.
If you were to raise this with her now, how would she respond?
Oh, well, she'd just say, well, you were the problem. Well, you didn't eat. You didn't try it. And
what would you think about that?
It's just what I've always had as a response. That's why I don't bother bringing stuff up to her, because I know it's just, oh, you know, she turns it round. so that
But what would your
what I'm
perception
saying,
of that be?
my perception of it.
Do you agree with her?
Oh no, absolutely not. No, I think
Do you ever
I
question
I
what your
think it's.
part as a child
Do
in that would
I?
be? Does it ever feel like she might have a point, or just even a tiny
Oh
bit?
God, no, no,
Good, okay,
no,
okay.
absolutely not. I absolutely know that, you know, the way that she raised me was wrong. Well,
Good. Okay.
and neglectful. It was just bare minimum. It was.
No,
It looked
no, it
like. It looked
even bare
like.
minimum,
Mm,
Charlie. It was not
yeah.
even bare
No.
minimum. Can you imagine for a
Mm,
moment, just one moment,
yeah.
I told you that I feed my child Marmite sandwiches for lunch, don't do anything for dinner. They might
Mm,
find some chocolate biscuits here or there, or they might sneak down to get food in the night. What would you
yeah.
think of me as a parent?
Awful.
You, yeah, keep
Absolutely
going.
awful.
Right. Would you think I was meeting bare minimum?
No, I think
No.
you would be not even a parent, not even a normal person. Like,
Right. What would you maybe do were you to
mm,
find that out?
if there was a child that
If you
was
found out about
having,
a
yeah,
child that was, being fed in the same way you were
well,
being fed.
I'd definitely think about, yeah, going to get help from elsewhere
Right.
and possibly, my apparently my auntie did do that, and she asked the doctors about my weight because I was very skinny.
I'm
I
not
think it
surprised.
peaked at about 7, only because I remember seeing a picture of myself when I was older, and I ripped it up because I hated it so much. I just looked like a skeleton. But my mum would just be like, "Look how skinny you were." But there was never ever any answers about that. It was just, you didn't eat, full stop.
So your aunt went to the doctor because she was worried
Apparently
about
so.
you.
I mean, I can't 100% say, but she has said that she went to the doctor and asked about me, but nothing was ever escalated with my mother.
Neglect at that in those years maybe weren't.
Mm,
But you were emaciated.
mm.
You said to me I looked like a skeleton.
Oh, it was bad at that age. The pictures of me, I don't look nice at all. I mean, that really must have been obvious to people, which kind of freaks me out, really, that people didn't do anything.
Well, we don't
But,
know that they didn't. What we know
yeah,
is that, you know, what we know is that you have photos of you being emaciated, and
well,
we know that there was no intervention that you are aware of. We also know that people are good liars, and if she continues now to say how difficult you were as a child to feed, then clearly that narrative is the one that she has either said before or constructed to whatever reason,
yeah,
but she's not willing to concede that she should have tried harder or, to get you to eat if you were being a tricky eater. Because we do have to be really careful about like filling in gaps because our brains love to do that. But ultimately, what we know is that you were emaciated, that you weren't being fed, and that nobody stepped in. Now, what I also know from my work and my experience is that people are very good at hiding abuse. So what we know is that those things, right, and that nobody intervened. But yes, my experience shows that abusers are very good at hiding the abuse, right? And I also know in the 90s, neglect probably wasn't seen as one. And there is something there about the fact that she liked you being skinny too.
okay, yeah.
Because you said, she would say, look how skinny you were. And
Yeah,
well,
like it was an
my
attention thing.
or that she liked it. My perception was that, and that might be my subjectivity and my interpretation, but it sounded like that she was pleased that you were skinny, or is that, does she comment about weight generally?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't remember there being any sadness about it, no.
So does she comment on other people's weight now?
I mean, yeah, she does things like that all the time. She's rude, very rude. Yeah. So she's quite happy to just say things out loud, and I mean, it sounds bad, but sometimes I'm just like, Mum, you know, don't say that kind of thing. But she might take that as like a bit jokey, but I really am meaning it, you know. But it's natural for her. It's just natural.
When you say it sounds bad, what sounds bad?
It just sounds bad that I'm not saying, hold on a minute, you know, don't say that, and being a lot more firm with her. But you just, I know, there are a lot of times where I think, is it my fault because I have not stood up to her, or don't stand up to her as much as what I should do? But it's because I know. Is
what your fault?
It's because I know that she won't. There's no reaction to it. She doesn't have the ability to perceive, you know, others and their feelings, and you can tell she just doesn't, you know, she doesn't reflect on herself at all. You know, she's not going to bed at night thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. No way. It's just, you just put up with it because that's what I think, that's my opinion, and you suck it up kind of thing. That's just the way it is.
So she says, through her behaviour, I don't care about how I impact you, I'll just say whatever I like.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't care about how I impact your children, I'll just say whatever I like.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. She might not say that in those words about my children, because she very much, sorry, that's my pen. She very much wants people to think that she's a fantastic grandparent and that she cares about them so much and that she's there for them. She absolutely, no way, no. If it's something that benefits her, then yes, but she would never be there to genuinely be there for you or my children.
Okay, I'm going to pull you on something here. So you do a thing that most people do, and now I'm going to notice it to you, and then anyone listening, you're going to go, oh no, and notice it all the time.
No.
And what am I going to tell you?
No, it's fine. You tell me. I'm absolutely open to, you know,
it's nothing really bad. It's not anything, but I wonder if, well,
when
that's you talk about,
so yeah, tell me, please.
I will. So when you talk about your experience,
right,
you talk about it in the third person, as in you feel like, you know, they're just this, that, and the other, or you know, you can't really compare yourself or to others, or instead of using the I statement, I feel, and you use your children accurately. So you talk about how their experience or her behaviour towards them, but when it comes to her behaviour towards you, you distance yourself. We do it as a distancing thing so we don't feel the full impact.
Yeah.
So now I'm saying, you know, if you watch interviews with people who've been through a really difficult time, they'll say things like, well, you know, when you're in one of those situations, what you do is, and it's, no, it should be when I was in that situation, what I did was, or what I felt was. But we do that to distance, but also to try and make it a shared experience to normalize it for ourselves. Right?
Yeah.
So knowing that now, I'm going to ask you to try and notice where you're doing it and why you might need distance from that thing. Okay? So you notice that if it comes to your children, the relationships that she wants to protect, and then also like perpetuate an image of herself around, you're seeing her making out like she's a present grandma, but she's not actually. Yeah. But also then for yourself, she's not changing behavior at all and just would be like, whatever, I don't care how I impact you. When you hear me say that back to you, what do you feel?
Yeah, it's like you say, I'm not, it just sounds like I'm not respecting myself, kind of thing. And I'm happy to, tell everybody that my children are, the behaviour towards them is bad, but it's okay for me.
So you will protect them, but not yourself. But also you're not protecting them because you're not protecting yourself.
Exactly. That's why changes have to be made and are being made, because I can, over the past few years, I've just seen the toxicity just get worse, and just, she's being more, I suppose, liberal with it, more comfortable, which I don't, which it is criminal, really, isn't it? I can't let that happen.
Well, it's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because I know people are going to say I'm sort of victim blaming when I say this. And I always sort of push back against that, because it's meant to be empowering, right? In that when we look at these toxic dynamics, when somebody comes to me, say they've come out of a relationship or it's their parent or whatever it might be, my question will always be is, how do you contribute to that dynamic?
Yeah.
And that's where people go, that's victim blaming. I'm saying, no, I don't say you deserve it. I'm asking you, or that you're doing anything to warrant it, but it continues and perpetuates because of something that we are either doing or permitting in most circumstances. There are some that, like a work situation where you can't, you're in a situation where maybe a boss is bullying you, and to push backward to lose your job and your income and all the things associated. So it's really tricky. But in romantic, friendship, or parental relationships, what might you be doing that allows this to perpetuate and even get worse, do you think?
Yeah, because I'm probably just trying to keep things peaceful, I expect.
Whose
But
peace are you protecting?
Yeah, I can see that I'm doing that, definitely. I know that it's not, when you say that you're trying to, break the cycle and things, I know that it's not that easy. There are, things that I'm doing that are probably keeping it lingering, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So what do you think those might be, those things?
Well, up until now, recently, I've said that I'm not allowing my children to stay there at any point on their own, because there have been some times where I might have left them for a couple of hours, which is very, very rare, but now it's absolutely zero. And there have been times where she's just wanted, which I didn't realise at the time, she wanted just my daughter to stay over. But she would just make the excuse that, it's because she's older or whatever. But I know it's just because she can't handle children that are, going to be hard work, I guess. My daughter's probably more, going with emotions. And that is absolutely not happening anymore, because I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And I just have a feeling, well, I know that my mum is, doing things and saying things that aren't right.
If you're scared of rejection, of saying no, have no idea how to trust people, you're not alone, and you don't have to heal alone either. That's what the Hub is for. It's a membership community designed for survivors just like you. Every month, we dive into powerful courses, we hold live calls, and connect in a supportive, understanding space so you can break free from the past and build healthy, fulfilling relationships. Maybe it's time to stop surviving and instead start thriving. Visit jointhehub.ac today using the code POD20 to get £20 off your first month's membership. I can't wait to see you there. Take care. Bye. I'm going to ask you this question again because you told me how you were changing it, which is amazing. But the question was, how are you perpetuating it? What do you do that allows it to continue? You've already told me today. You've already told me what you don't do.
Well, have it out with her.
Yeah. You don't challenge it.
It's yeah, it is such a
it's unhealthy.
It's unhealthy. I think I'm not scared of her. I think I just protect my dad a lot, which I shouldn't do. Because I know that he is like a victim in the whole thing, but I also know that he, also
Tell me about that.
Involved with the neglect, wasn't he, really?
Well, it's a really interesting thing with the enabling parent, which is what you titled him as in your email. Yeah. That when we are looking at the enabling parent, as the children of that parent, we can often fall into this idea that they are the victim as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard me talk about why I don't get on board with that idea.
Yeah.
So is he a victim, or is he using his child as a force field, and you've just learned, or has he used you as a force field, and you've just learned to take that role to protect him? And then the question is, it seems then in that scenario, and this is going to be fairly hard to hear, I think, that you are protecting him over your children.
I know.
And how does it feel to hear that?
That's horrible, isn't it?
Well, you tell me, how does it, is it?
It is, yeah, because that is the most important thing, are my children.
But are they being treated as the most important thing?
Not when it comes to my parents, no.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hard, isn't it?
Which bit's hard, love?
it's... It all makes sense that I shouldn't like my dad. Like, technically, I should hate him. I mean, he's really hasn't done anything to deserve the relationship we have. But I mean, someone once said to me, and it wasn't even a friend, it was a colleague, and he didn't even know me that well, and I was talking about things, and I think I just said blasé, oh, my dad, he's like a mate to me. And he said, oh, but you don't need a mate, you need a dad. And since then I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that has really, really stuck with me. And I think that's our relationship.
And that is what the enabling parent does.
I don't want to hurt his feelings. Yeah.
How would you hurt his feelings?
I think by just making better decisions for us, and not to, go around there and let it all keep playing out like it has been.
How would that hurt his feelings?
I think because there probably is a part of him as well that, he wants to, well, there is a massive part of him that just wants to keep my mum happy. Well, not so much happy, but just
I'm sure there's a huge part.
He just doesn't want to pee her off.
Right.
And I guess, yeah, I'm starting to see now where I'm, helping towards that dynamic, because I am just letting that happen.
Okay. I'm still confused. How are you going to hurt his feelings by...
I think if I told him the real truth about how I feel,
Mm.
I don't even think he would know where to begin. I don't think he has. That sounds so bad, really. That I don't think he has any idea how the whole thing has impacted me. I just think it's crazy to think that he's lived his life and he hasn't even needed to worry about a child that he has.
Right.
And I don't know why. I don't know why I can't just say to him, you were shit. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, of course,
You
yeah.
you you
Yeah,
were
it's me.
terrible. You were
You're allowed to
awful.
say all the swear words.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
Like
fine. So you're not allowed to say,
I don't know why. I'm scared of breaking his heart because I think if I said all of that, yeah, it would be like a
okay,
surprise to him.
okay, let me flip that round.
Mm.
And again, this may be difficult to hear. You are sitting here tolerating all this
I
behaviour
know.
towards yourself and your children, terrified to hurt him by telling him how he has contributed to that and continues to do so. And
Mm.
yet he does not make any attempt to protect you. Do you think it crosses his mind about you and how much you need to be protected or needed to be?
No, it certainly hasn't done. No, it can't have
Right.
done. It can't.
How often has he said to you, you know what your mum's like?
Oh, yeah, that's classic. And
Right.
don't tell your mum. When I was growing up, he would, you know, give me some money or something, not a lot, or tell me a secret. Oh, but don't tell your mum.
So,
Or even now, it's he's controlled so badly by her that if he usually comes to visit me, maybe once a week or twice a week,
mm,
but you know, he would never be able to. I mean, he's allowing it as well. He would never be able to, do anything else with me. So he's allowed to come over and see me for an hour or something. But if we were to say, for example, like it's happened in the summer just gone, we
mm.
decided to really go crazy and just go for a coffee out to a local coffee shop. And to him, that was like terrifying if my mum found out about that. Don't tell your mum. Don't tell
So
your mum
don't
about
tell
even
your
small
mum.
things like that. Yeah. Whereas
And
I'm
he's
quite happy to
saying,
tell her. I'm quite happy to tell her, but I suppose I'm protecting him, aren't I? For some reason. But
well, it's not only that. I hear there's a triangulation even. So
mm,
against between you and your mother, that don't tell your mother.
mm.
Have you ever seen the consequence of her finding something out like that?
Yes,
And
all
what
the
is it?
time. She will like badly punish my dad and just make his
How?
life even worse.
Doing
Um,
what?
by having a go at him, not letting him have any money, not letting him go out, not letting him have any life whatsoever.
Let
Yeah.
me highlight something to you. What you have just said there is a huge contradiction to what you told me right at the beginning, that he would go to the pub after work and stay there until all hours
Yeah.
without a care about her or her reaction, or
Well, he did care, I think, but he just couldn't
not
bear to come home.
well couldn't bear to come home. Where did you learn that from?
That is what I
That's
learned
the
as an adult.
assumption.
That's my assumption that he just didn't want to go home to my mum. He was already at work, so he'd lie that he was working late or something.
So but she knew full well and he
Yeah,
was doing it
she did know.
regularly.
She did know that. Yeah, we we,
So
we,
he
we
was
both
not
knew.
so he wasn't that scared because he
Right.
would go anyway, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah, so he's
second of
not
all,
scared. That's not the right word then. Yeah.
I'm querying this level of her villainy from his point of view. Not suggesting from your point of view. I mean, like the things you've said are terrible, but I think the idea that he is in this total fear state of being controlled by her.
Right. It's not the right word, probably.
He's an adult. He has agency. He, well, you know, the whole money thing, you said she wouldn't give him money. So is he being financially abused, and does that need to be reported even? You know, it's that kind of thing. And then it's the, who is he protecting in all of this? Who is he protecting? Himself.
Himself.
Always.
Yeah.
And so he's, you know, your colleague that said to you, you don't need a mate, you need a dad, is so right. It's so poignant that someone not that close to you could observe that.
I know.
And what I hear is your father equalising to your experience so that he's not also held accountable.
Yeah.
Your terror of upsetting him, of hurting his feelings, of holding him accountable.
Yeah.
And what is it that you fear will happen? So what I hear is him controlling quite a lot of this dynamic.
Right. Yeah.
In
like
his
complicit in the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and his total avoidance of accountability and getting you on side and potentially smearing your mother to you. So you've got,
right, okay.
He shouldn't be putting you in the position of keeping secrets.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to go for a coffee. Don't tell her.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, he would have gone to the pub without a second thought.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I get that she may well be very, very controlling, and that's absolutely true. But he's still an adult. And if it's that bad, then he could still take action against that. But what this looks like to me is that of all of you, the person that seems to benefit the most and is protected the most is him.
Yeah. No,
what do you think about that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's when you put it like that. Yeah, I've had, you know, there's definitely not a, you know, a good and a bad parent. I know that. But when you put it like that, it makes me realise that he is like a lot worse than what I make him out to be.
And how does that feel to realise that?
Even more sad.
And rightly so. It is really, and you know, I often talk about the idea that the real grief often lies in seeing the enabling parent for what and who they were in the dynamic.
Yeah.
And this little thread started because I asked you about how you perpetuate the dynamic, right?
I know.
And
terrible.
Now looking back, having had this conversation, what can you see now in your own behaviour that contributes to the dynamic?
I've got a lot to learn still.
But if you were able to look at anything right now and say, where do I enable maybe the dynamic myself? Can you think of any particular things
just
that you do?
By not telling the truth, hiding how I feel towards my dad. And I just have to keep everything to myself. And that is obviously a bad thing. That is not good at all.
So you become the secret holder, or the holder of all the emotions and all the responsibility. Because if you tell your mum that you met your dad for a coffee, which is so normal, like it's such a, if your children wanted to go with their father, would you, like on their own, for a coffee on their own or a drink or whatever, would you be worried about that?
No.
No.
No, because
I
I would want
actively
it to
encourage it.
happen. I would
Right.
want it to happen because I obviously want a much better relationship for them,
Right.
with their father and the mother. And I want them to have a mother that I suppose probably needs to have more of a backbone, and needs to stand up for them more and put myself first,
Okay.
because they're probably gonna feel that, aren't they?
Well, let's again rephrase that a little bit, because that was quite self-shaming. They need a mother who's got more of a backbone.
I couldn't think of, yeah, that sounds bad, doesn't it?
It's just really harsh on you. You've been conditioned to behave this way. This is what they have taught you this dynamic has to look like. And it's not until we start really looking at it that we can go, actually, my behaviour contributes in this way. So the thing of even don't tell your mother, well, no, unless you're going to tell her, I'm not meeting you.
Right.
We shouldn't have to keep a relationship secret from her. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating actually, because I don't think he would then, would he?
Okay. And then there's,
Yeah.
well, what do you do with that? How would that feel for you?
It's sad. It is sad.
What
Because
is
I
he
think,
communicating in that? If
yeah,
you said to him and he said, well, I can't meet you then, what is he telling you?
yeah. That says 1,000 words, really, doesn't it?
And they are?
Yeah. No, do you know, you are telling me things that I already know. I know that he's not good at all, and oh God, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pause us for a minute, and I just want to ask, what is happening for you right now in this moment?
Because, well, I'm lots of thoughts are coming to mind of things that I already know, that
Okay.
he chooses things over me all the time,
How's it making you feel?
and I just put up with it when I shouldn't.
Okay.
Like, a beer is more important to him than me, because when there's been plenty of occasions where we've met up and there absolutely has to be a beer involved, or if I choose to go somewhere that doesn't involve that, then he doesn't want to go.
Right. So in that situation, he's telling you as well, not just that a beer is more important, that his needs are more
Yes.
important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is everything that we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
But I want to know what it's feeling like for you, because it sounds like I'm saying things you kind of already knew, but I'm making them like stark. And I
Yeah.
wonder whether that's, well, just how it's feeling.
It just feels very real, and
Is real a feeling word? Do you know how you
it's
feel?
no.
Really struggle? Yeah, that's okay.
I just feel I just feel sad for the situation.
Okay. It is sad. It's horrible. The person you thought was the one on your team is not. He's been on his own team. That is really painful. And it seems like you might have been kind of aware of it, but we're trying to keep it at bay by focusing on your mum's behaviour, which is also
Yeah.
awful, by the way. So, we've got a double whammy going on.
Yeah. I think it just makes me probably realise even more that as a child, because I don't usually see that child as me, but I think that child really was on their own.
Really on their own. Still are.
Yeah.
There's this little girl that was sent to her room seen and not heard. You know,
Yeah.
not just seen. I mean, when you started,
Just
the way
nobody. Yeah, I know.
what do you think I'm going to say?
Oh, don't worry.
No, go on.
I
What do you think?
probably just didn't say things for exactly how they are. Yeah.
Well, what does that mean you were doing?
Well, hiding my feelings, not telling the truth.
If I said to you, minimising.
Yeah.
Playing
Definitely.
it down.
That was a big fear as well, though, I suppose. Before I spoke to you, I didn't, I'm always thinking in my head, was it really that bad? Am I wasting her time, kind of thing?
And what do you think now?
I think that's probably just the theme for me, isn't it? Just
It sounds a bit like that.
Yeah, in lots of places.
What does it feel like now? Do you feel like you're wasting my time now?
No, I feel like I suppose you've made me realise that there are quite a lot of shocking things about my upbringing that it's just been normal for me, and it's not until I've kind of grown up where I realise, oh, that is wrong. But I think you're letting me know that it is a lot worse than
And you're allowing yourself.
what I thought. Yeah, I do need to. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hard when they're still around as well, isn't it? You've got to really. It's up to me, isn't it, to stop this?
And that's the bit about what's my part.
With them. Yeah.
Right. And that is why I do that bit with you. Because if I can sit and say, I know I do this thing that makes, by whether it's that I don't speak up or I don't, or I keep the secret of the meeting or whatever it might be, that I am contributing to the dynamic and the pattern. And that when she's favouring my daughter over my son, that I'm not calling it out and telling her, not to, that I'm allowing it to continue.
Yeah.
When I'm even maybe, and it's not for me to say what you do or do not do in terms of contact, but if I am actually continuing to expose the children to that, does that make me complicit?
Yeah, that is a big question that I ask myself. Yeah.
And what would your answer to that be?
That I am.
Yeah. Because
even though, I suppose in my head I think, well, I'm breaking the cycle because I understand and I can see it. But it's the staying in it that is not healthy at all. And I'm going to get stuck forever if I don't do something.
Right. So, I've never really liked the term breaking the cycle. I've always thought it's a misnomer.
I know.
And the reason being that it's not a cycle.
To say it. Yeah.
Well, I have a different way, and that is, I call it the chain. It's a chain reaction. And we stop a chain reaction by removing an element.
Okay.
Right? If we were to think about the line of gunpowder leading up to the dynamite that's going to blow up the cliff or whatever, all you need to do is kick some of that dynamite out of the way, or gunpowder rather, out of the way or cut the fuse if it's a fuse, for it not to blow up, for it to burn out. But when all you do is like change the shape of the gunpowder or the fuse, all you're doing is still leading up to the cliff getting blown up, but you're just changing the shape, feeling like you've got some control.
Right.
When that's not what's happening, because things are still being blown up. And so to break the chain, you have to remove the element. And if you are the element that allows things to be continued, then it's your behaviour that has to change to remove the bit that allows it to continue. Right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to awareness or the change of the cycle, breaking the cycle thing, kind of concept, breaking the chain, it's really understanding what that chain is. What are the things that happen? What are being normalized to my children? What are the narratives they're learning that are not okay? Right?
Yeah.
What is normal to me because of what I've experienced, that when someone else, if someone else experienced it or told me they were doing to their child, would I feel like horrified at?
Yeah.
What do I convince myself is either my fault or normal, an overreaction on my part, or what was normal at the time? Because let me tell you this, regardless of what was or was not normal in throughout generations, one of the things that was 100% not normal was starving a child. When I was growing up in the 80s, because I'm a bit older than you, but when I was growing up in the 80s, the constant bombardment of starving children in Africa was present. We knew how terrible it was that children were starving in Africa, to the point that most of us grew up hearing, eat your dinner, think of the children starving in Africa.
Yeah.
As, you know, this weird correlation that would somehow make us eat. But it made no sense even to me even then, still doesn't now. But the point, you know, we had a Live Aid concert and it was a huge thing for children starving in Africa. So you normalizing or minimizing her not feeding you is showing you there is something very wrong in that perception. Her telling you it was your fault because you were a picky eater, something very wrong in that too. And I speak as the parent of an extremely picky eater and as a picky eater too. Now, you don't even like that terminology, selective. You know, it's like I have a lot of strong preferences, likes and dislikes. And actually, it's one of the ways I bullshit filter, because how someone reacts to those is a really interesting take on them as an acceptance or demand of other people. And your self-perception is to minimize it because it might help you maintain a relationship with your father which felt the safest of both. Because in your, as you said to your colleague, in that system, as the only child who was regularly ignored, he was your only friend.
Right.
And you felt like you were with him in it and that he got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to agree with me.
No, I do agree. I do agree.
Okay.
I think that's...
And what does it feel like?
That is how it must have happened, you know. Out of both of them, you know, I've swayed towards the one that I feel is, you know, hard done by, when there's so much more to it than that. It's, you know, him neglecting me as well. And still does to this day. Still does. He hasn't... It angers me that he has no idea. It's just...
Doesn't he?
But I mean, he has no idea that I'm... Well, it feels like he has no idea that he's hurting me.
And yet you've asked him to do things that don't involve alcohol.
If I choose to do a day out without it, then he won't actually directly say it's because there isn't a beer. I just know that that's why he's not interested. I just know. And he's very picky to what he will go and do, which angers me, because I think, well, if he wants to spend time with me, then he'll be there, won't he?
Right.
Simple as
so
that.
let me just add this into the mix of bombs that I've thrown at you today. Of look at how readily he prioritizes himself.
Yeah.
And you tell me he's a victim and he's controlled, and yet look how controlling he is.
Yeah. He is, actually.
I'm
very
conscious.
Stuck in his ways.
Yes. Stuck in his ways? Or
refuse to.
really, really entitled?
Right. Okay.
I am conscious that we are kind of coming to the end of our time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also conscious that I have pulled back a lot of, curtains maybe to see some different lights. And I'm wondering whether I've given you what you needed from the session, and if there's anything that we haven't got to that you would like to get to.
I mean, all the notes that I've put down, to help me along, a lot of them are, experiences, which we haven't gone through, but as a, which you'd be here all day if I decided to talk about all of that.
Well, let me invite you to just have a look and see what patterns you can see through those experiences. But go on. Go on, carry on. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's okay. It is, I guess, yeah. Oh, I don't. It's just things that I've pulled up, I suppose, throughout my life that have stuck with me. But the real reason why I'm speaking with you today is because, I feel that, I'm kind of stuck in my life, and I've lost, it almost feels like I've lost a spark, and I don't find things enjoyable. I suppose it's because my mind is chaotic all of the time. So you've definitely, you've brought things, you've given me more clarity when it comes to the severity of my upbringing. So that is helpful, because hopefully that will help me to unravel other things about myself, and not just tell the truth and be myself for the sake of me, but for the whole thing, the whole family,
You said you'd lost a spark.
I just don't know,
Go on, you just don't know what.
Oh, it's really hard to know where to start. Yeah. It is a difficult one, because I can't really speak to anyone, because it's not just the fact that I'm, feel like I'm kind of chronically lonely because of the way I was brought up as a child, but it's also because the dynamics right now are lonely, because, I don't really have a lot of family. None of my aunts and uncles are there for me. They never have been. I don't even have friends that have children. So, yeah, it's very.
So feeling very lonely.
It's
unseen,
isolating, yeah.
Very invisible. You mentioned your brain feeling really chaotic, and I wonder if that's because you're juggling so many different people's feelings and thoughts, and you're managing all that for them. Also, one of the things that you could do is literally actively write down all the different things that you are thinking of, and then identifying which of them do belong to you and which don't. Right.
Okay.
So, for example, your father's feelings and even your mother's, they do not belong to you. You are not in charge of managing them. If they feel hurt or angry or whatever the things that they feel about you holding them accountable, saying no, sort of looking for the change in the dynamic, that is up to them.
Mm-hmm.
That is for them to manage. Okay? If you show them how they've behaved and how they've treated you and they feel hurt, angry, ashamed, that's theirs to deal with. Right? And then the loneliness thing, if your experience of relationships has been one that you have then had to do all this emotional labour in, if that's the only way in which you've been allowed to exist in relationships, then it's going to be very difficult to change that without really active, I will not do it. Am I, making notes? Am I doing this today? Have I done this today? What do I feel when I do this so I notice when I'm doing it? Right?
Mm.
And the one word that probably will describe how you might feel is likely going to be anxiety. Because you will be scared that you are getting something wrong and it's going to backfire, or someone's going to abandon you or be mean or punish or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? Does that sound right? So when it comes to loneliness, I wonder if first it means looking at who you actually are, what you really want relationships to look like, and then going to spaces where you might find friends that you have shared interests with, but that might start with finding you.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on that matter?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The what I would call close friendships, I don't see them that often. They don't have children. Not that that fully matters. We can't really, deeply go
No, but
into
it can
that.
make it tricky because,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. I suppose they've been with me. They're like, a lot of them are child. The two that I have are like childhood friends. So I suppose even that dynamic has stayed the same.
Mm.
There might even be. Sometimes I question even if the friendships, if they sort of, a lot of it is hanging on to, a damaged version of me, if you like. So it's really hard to step out of that. It really is. And to know what direction to go.
Okay.
But yeah, it's, yeah.
There is something around you, the way you perceive yourself as this kind of damaged, you used the word damaged, and it feels really shaming and punitive and in itself isolating, like I don't belong because all this stuff.
I do question that sometimes, that, if I, like, for example, my wedding, sometimes I would have these feelings of, oh, no one wants to support me, no one wants to help me with this, but am I kind of pushing it away as well?
Well, there is that too, because what does it cost you to accept help?
Yeah.
Because I bet there's a bloody high price. And do you get silenced? Like, I'm going to give you help, but only if it looks exactly like the way I want to give it. And if I disagree with what you're doing, I'm going to give an example, which is going to sound really weird. Can't speak. Weirdly left field in that. I used to get asked what I would like for Christmas every year. And I knew what the budget was. I'm sure I've told this story before. I used to know what the budget would be. And so I would say I want this specific cream, a face cream, that was around that much. Very expensive, get it, understand that. But I was being asked, this is the budget, I would like this thing. No, I'm not getting you that. I'm not spending money on this. I'm not spending that money on face cream. Okay, But that, to me, is completely illogical. You've asked me what I want. The money is the money regardless. And you're saying to me, I can't have what I want because you don't think it's a good use of that money.
Yeah.
Now, it's your money to use as you wish. But if you're asking what I want, why? What's the point?
Yeah.
It's illogical, right? So there is the thing of, I will only give you a gift that I approve of.
Yeah.
You know, when you see people who are homeless on the street and you give them 20 quid and somebody, you know, I often hear people saying like, you know, oh, I gave them 20 quid and they just spent it on booze. And my response always is, so what?
Yeah.
You've given them the 20 quid. It's theirs to use. Now, if you don't want them to spend it on alcohol, then get them a sandwich and a drink and whatever you want to. But if I'm living on the streets and someone gives me 20 quid and I can buy something that will distract me from that fact for a little while, I'm bloody doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And
so, yeah, so it might be that around that fear of accepting help in a way that is conditional rather than voluntary and prioritizing you.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm very fully aware of that as well. Just,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think we might have come to the end, and we've obviously covered a huge amount of content of stuff. And before we finish, I just want to check in and see how you are feeling.
I almost feel like I don't know, like I already feel like I'm beating myself up.
Okay.
Overall, like I don't know, I think I just thought I was further along with this than I am, if that makes sense. Like,
okay.
I feel like I have just, you know, made things worse.
Charlie, let me offer you something. You told me at the very beginning that I am the first person that you have spoken to in a professional capacity. You also said you'd followed me for years and, you know, and that is amazing. Yeah. But it's one thing to read all the things and apply them. And it's another thing to talk to me and have me look at your personal situation and identify stuff that you may not have been seeing.
Yeah.
That is, notice where you are expecting yourself to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Well, what we've got to today is something that often will take me months in therapy when someone is very resistant to seeing the enabling parents role.
Yeah.
And so in these sessions, I do get to be more direct and I do get to pull stuff out a bit more than I would necessarily in therapy. But you have absorbed it. What I am going to ask you try not undo is to blame yourself for not seeing it, for not knowing it, for having feelings about it.
Yeah.
It is not your fault. It's not your shame to carry. This is where you can start noticing how you contribute to the dynamic and what you want to change.
Yeah.
But it isn't easy at all. So don't think for a second that there's something flawed in you because this is big and painful and scary.
Yeah.
It is. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay if we leave it there and wrap up today?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and exploring that. And yeah, again, being so brave and going into that place around his behaviour particularly. I know it's very difficult to hear and explore. So thank you. And I suppose without trying to be patronising about it, well done, because it is hard and it is impressive that you did it.
Yeah. No, I am.
Thank you very much.
That is something that I've definitely, I've said to myself already before I even got on the phone to you that, you know, I'm proud of myself for getting that far. So,
well, exactly.
It is.
The very fact you're sitting with me
yeah.
shows how much you want it to change.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, on that note, Levy, thank you so much again. And I guess, as ever, all that remains to be said is take care. Bye.
Bye bye.